Previously on Dysfunctional Systems. I'm here to confirm the quiet whispers through the alleys and the worried murmurs of Gabrayan elite. Pardon? Consider this a threat. People of Gabraya, you have 4 hours to comply with my demands, or a nuclear weapon will be launched at your country. And now, we get back into it. That can't be good. Winter, come over here for a minute. I rise and step over to my mentor, feeling surprisingly clear-headed and befuddled all at once. He takes me from the counter, leaving the three gentlemen to discuss whatever it is exactly that the man on the television just brought up. A nuclear weapon? The hell is that? What does Barnaby think he's doing? Can't believe he really did it. What kind of place does he think this is? Sir, could you please break down what just happened? I'm kind of lost here. Winter! I know we've only just arrived, but did you look at the files you were given at all? I did! Have you been paying any attention to anything out here? I have. You have. You have. Then explain who that man is. Explain anything. Put me on the spot like that? The leader of Brighton, sir, President Barnaby. He's angry at Gabraya. I'm not an idiot. Gracious, why can't I articulate or explain it any better? I just wanted to clarify some things because I'm shadowing you. Sorry, I reacted out of impulse. I forget how unprepared life in our world can leave us for these things. His tone shook me up quite a bit. I'm shivering a little. I was going to lie and say I understand, but I'm having a lot of trouble speaking right now. I go home. Winter, you may not have realized the severity of this situation. This isn't going to be community service like your first assignment. Know that? Hey, eyes straight, Harrison. Allow me to be frank. Brace yourself, because there may be a lot of dying happening soon. Dying? But... I'm shocked, honestly. I figured those rumors I heard from Clark were only that. Hold it. Death? I just thought... As far as we knew, this world hadn't even developed nuclear weapons yet. What did I think? He said weapon? Am I daft? Though, with their studies in utilizing nuclear fusion for electricity, I suppose it was only a matter of time. People are gonna die? It's people dying. Just slow it down for a second. I suppose that's what comes with our job. Not everything can be in the dossiers, right? We smooth out the creases and bring chaos to order. Slow it down, calm down. Though, sudden wars really are rare. War? My mind starts to tumble and my heart tries to explode from my chest. I definitely can't handle this. War isn't something I'm supposed to take care of. Shut up. Don't excite the locals. I cover my mouth and raise my shoulders. Of course they're looking for war. You can't believe people dying is just a commonality. Do you even think properly? I find it incredibly hard to do anything properly right now. Shaking, I turn to see the people at the counter. They thankfully are still engrossed in the president's speech. I look back at Cyrus and speak softly through my fingers. Shouldn't I go home? Yeah. Oh. This was supposed to be something like diplomacy. Goes to show you how important it is to get a look at the situation yourself. Anyway, if what I heard was right, we don't have the time to get you out of here without causing a scene. As you should know, interplanar shifts take longer to prepare than just moving from place to place. But I'll protect you no matter what happens, Winter, and you know how to escape if you really must. Yes. I don't know if I want to do that anymore, though. If he's talking about maybe dying... Of course, we don't have a lot of time in general. His demands I couldn't care less about, but this deadline... 4 hours. Consider this a powerful lesson and come with me. We proceed to exit the bar without saying goodbye. It seems it is time to get to work. It is too bad that I'm terrified. We take to the streets at a quick pace, Cyrus leading to wherever. I find it difficult to keep up with him though, and in more ways than one, my head is still swimming from the mention of war. What level is this war, do you think? You mean, what level do you think it'll be? It hasn't happened. With any luck, it won't. Luck? Huh. I'm thinking this could be something like a 4 on the scale. 4? 4? Oh gracious, 4 is 1 away from 5 and 2 away from 6, which is terrible. 6 is very, very terrible. The worst. Even 4 though. A war without rules? That must be particularly gross. It is a very disturbing prospect. So disturbing that I grabbed my hair and almost shut my eyes. What exactly is this? What will happen? Test? What do you think? Is it really the time for tests? Be appreciative that I'm even doing this work, Winter. He seems so much more angry than before. How irksome. What do I think? What it could be? Well, first of all, Debray will respond to Brighton's threat. Possibly. Possibly? Why wouldn't they? I'll answer that for you. Because it might work in their favor to ignore it. I don't get it. Just think, Winter. Okay, just think. Wonderful advice, you... Well, maybe they just don't care at all about Brighton. And they'll use this tantrum as an excuse to destroy them. That's nonsensical, I know. Keep pointing out how I'm like a fish attempting to walk. That's right, Winter. You're right about why they wouldn't respond. What? How absurd! Isn't Gabrea a leash on Brighton's back? They need Brighton, so why would they want to destroy it? Well, they wouldn't actually destroy Brighton. What they do is invade and take away that little freedom and independence this country still clings to. Then they would be able to take advantage of the citizens in ways unprecedented. What a disgusting thought. I can hardly even imagine it. Alright, here's another question. Why does Brighton think it can take on Gabrea? Damn it, Cyrus. How should I know? The same way you knew the first answer. I was bullshitting. Language. Sorry, sir. Thinking about recent events might help. Goodness, is he trying to get me to think in the place of murderers? Those are boots I would not like to fill. I guess that I have to, though. You mentioned recent events. I can't think that the minimum wage increase would embolden this country enough to believe that they could stand against an obviously superior nation. Especially with how unimpressed the president seemed to be about it. Even David wasn't terribly excited. Oh, David! What was it that David mentioned? Their new army. The person I spoke with, his name was David. He said that Brighton had gotten a military recently to defend against the border country of Furdia. He said it was because Furdia is dangerous and ignores treaties, but isn't it far more likely that this army was actually created to engage with Gabrea? With an actual army, and what seems to be a new kind of weapon, at least judging from how the locals reacted, then that would explain their confidence. I think. See, Winter, you are cut out for this. Wait, don't reference things I mumbled to myself before he came here, creep. Then, do you understand the situation? Yes, but I'm curious, isn't this more like a level 5 war? As Brighton and Gabrea are technically separate, I can't call what might happen a civil war. Then it's a technicality. Just a technicality? I'd figure Brighton and Gabrea were still very close. Well, look at you, you're all calm. I frown with indignation. I am not at all calm if this is essentially a level 5 war. Well, you look it. I do not let up with my frown. Well, That isn't all there is. How this might proceed largely has to do with what level I would give this potential war. Cyrus stops, and I stop in turn. We're now in front of a fountain. It took me the entire time till now to realize that the city streets are deserted. The doorways are even clear of those ragged children who would ask us for pennies. Could it be that everyone is listening to the address? Before I can drift off on this thought, Cyrus looks down at me. A nuclear weapon is one that can kill a lot of people and destroy a lot of things almost instantly. Excuse me? Honestly, Winter, what did you think I'd meant earlier when I said a lot of dying could be expected? I won't go into the details, but it's not something you would have been taught about yet. I've dealt with it before, though. You're lucky. I am not lucky at all. Not even in the littlest slightest. What kind of thing is that? Is it magic? This isn't a magical world, Winter. Thank the higher-ups you won't be going to those just yet. They're less fun than they sound. I should not be going to worlds with wars either. Points. You can check your codex for information about what we'll be dealing with, if you'd like. I need to contact support and update them anyway, so at least it'll give you something to do while you wait. What is it called exactly? Just nuclear weapon seems rather broad, like spear weapon or fruit drink. I believe that it's a fusion bomb. While Barnaby didn't specify, the rumor I heard supports it. Also, it makes sense considering they're reactors. Reactors? You forgot? We saw them when we first arrived. This country utilizes fusion reactors for power. Ah, right, the looming and shadowy giants that stand on the distant steeps. I remember not wanting to remember them. They were disconcerting. Like many other things here, they looked a mess, and unlike many other things here, they vibrated. I thought they were going to violently break apart. Anyway, fusion bombs should be under weapons, obviously. It's technically not pure fusion, but most worlds can only do so much. Not pure? Well, it's a limited reaction jump started by fission. True fusion bombs are rather like man-made stars. Stars are beautiful. Not the word I'd use for those. Just keep the distinction in mind and read that fusion bomb entry. Right, I understood. I mumble this as Cyrus turns from me and begins raising his wrist to his mouth. He suddenly pauses, though, and addresses me again. Oh, and Winter, while you're at it, check out the appropriate entries pertaining to this world. Always mind your codex, it could save lives. Remember to keep tabs on it. Understood, sir. I look at my own wrist. Both of us are sporting bracelets, which look very similar to stylish and thin digital watches. We have to regularly hide them from view, as we are advised they are considered suspicious-looking things, usually. Hey, it's Cyrus. You guys probably noticed there's trouble at this world. Yes, more trouble. Cut the cutesy crap. This isn't the time. I'm actually... Oh, he's actually what, exactly? I look at him. He notices that I'm listening, shifts a little, and walks out of my range of hearing. That is worrisome. I look back at my wrist device, my ICD. Interplanar Communication Device. A name which does not actually cover all that it does. It also carries a database and tells time, and probably 1,000 other things, as it is fancy. Honestly, if there's anything magical I've encountered so far as a student mediator, it is most definitely the ICD. Science magic or some such. It basically does everything. It's how we get to other worlds and teleport around them, and it can open up a tiny pocket dimension for holding things, and inventory as well. I think it is pretty cool. And it came from my own world. I would never have imagined. Right now I need access to the codex. I focus this thought, open the codex, and the device recognizes the command as it is linked with my mind, which is awesome. A tiny holographic screen emits from the device in a rather inconspicuous fashion, yet still in an acceptably readable size. I begin to navigate the database, searching for, well, let's see, Stool, Brighton, Cabrea, and Ferdia too, I suppose. I think I'll leave Fusion Bomb for last. Oh, so okay, I'll read them for you. Brighton is a major society on Stool, with strong historical and present connections to both Cabrea and Ferdia. A site of several rich mineral deposits, it was previously a Cabrean colony, but gained independence 120 Stool years ago. It also shares a large portion of its border with Ferdia, and a truce has been signed between Cabrea and Ferdia concerning the territory. Brighton was still a colony at the time. Although Brighton shares in the technological advancement of its mother country, it does not share in prosperity, and is economically weak by comparison. The Brighton people are a hard-working and closely knit group, and tend to describe themselves metaphorically as ants. This society has not yet been visited. Yeah, I'm reading that right as ants, okay. I got a lot of information on food, yes. Ferdia is a major society on Sool. It is one of the 3 most significant societies on said world, marked by its rich culture and extreme aggressiveness. It is responsible for many of Sool's major works of art, literature, and music, while at the same time its army and navy are unrivaled by any other. It is a direct democracy emphasizing fairness and the power of the individual. Ferdia's wars have been numerous and frequent, but within the last 2 centuries, developments in aeronautics made other major societies, Cabrea and Rosare, as well as a fair number of truces, have largely put an end to this behavior. Unfortunately, they display an unusual degree of boldness. This has, in the past, caused them to ignore treaties and threats of technological superiority in order to go to war. Interestingly, despite their history of aggression, Ferdia has never tried to expand past the borders of its continent, nor has it created any colonies in foreign lands. Regardless of colonialism, many of the mediations on Sool have concerned Ferdia's actions. Ferdia has always been extraordinarily territorial and protective of its people. This is due to the location on which they settled, on one of the few fertile lands of Sool. The land was and is quite desirable naturally, and Ferdia was frequently accosted by other tribes and nations attempting to claim this territory. Necessity led them to be a very strong people, and the familiar helpfulness of its society bore a friendly, nationalistic culture. They grew a rich appreciation for their history, which led to some of their later aggressive mannerisms. Ferdians never forget the slights made against their people, and after violently expanding its borders to scare off enemies, it spent much of its time warring the nations that had assaulted them in the past. To date, Ferdia is believed to have initiated 251 wars, and participated in 253. Hence it has been stereotyped as a nation of violent roughhousing. While true to a point, they tend to be incredibly defensive and quick-tempered. Reports indicate that the Ferdians are generally quite jovial and creative. They are also the least discriminatory nation on Sool. An expression of theirs is that they hate everyone equally. But the truth is that they're surprisingly open to immigration and cultural diversity. It seems that they only ever take issue with countries themselves rather than the country's people. Mediators, be advised, as welcoming and charismatic as they are, do not fall prey to their influence. Remember that war is severely chaotic. Furthermore, while their military action has calmed down recently, tensions are always high when it comes to Ferdian relations with other societies. Currently, Ferdia has been focusing on artistic endeavors and has adopted a somewhat isolationist doctrine. Its military is constantly honed, but has not been deployed in approximately 50 Sool years. I'll say Fusion Bomb for last because that's what she said. Cabrea is a major society on Sool. It is one of the 3 most significant societies on said world, marked by extreme wealth and influence. It is the richest society on Sool and has connections with nearly all other Sool societies. Cabrea is currently a patriarchal monarchy with socialist leanings, government-funded health, education, welfare, etc. The majority of mediations on Sul have dealt with this society. The Brayans began as a nomadic trading people, quickly establishing a reputation for their amiability and good dealings. Trust was heavily placed in them for their reliability, and they often ended up playing intermediary between several budding nations on their home continent. Eventually seeing the value in the messages they were charged to carry between countries, they began trading information. Their mobility, connections, mercenary escort, and knowledge of secrets protected them from assault, and soon the nomads became rather notorious. At some point in time, they founded the Gabrayan nation along the coast of their continent. From their new settlement, they amassed a military and turned to imperialistic goals. It did not take them long to have much of the world under their influence, with colonies on every continent and a grasp on most countries. Gabraya is also largely responsible for the technological advancement of Sul. Their ingenuity and cleverness mixed with opportunism has pushed scientific discovery along much faster than the average system. They have managed to develop and act upon nuclear theory, carrying their society and old colonies with rudimentary, somewhat experimental, nuclear fusion reactors. Their latest project has been the construction of artificial islands on Sul's oceans. Currently, Gabraya remains at the top of Sul's society. While it has granted technical freedom to all of its colonies, it seems that they are still leashed in some way or another to the mother country. The planet's information now. System 8659541. Plane P73813. Location name Sul. Active. Type planet. Major societies 9. Development scientific. Blah 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 blah. Personal security note. Many species of fish on Sul are poisonous to Earth and avoid seafood to be safe. System 8659541 Sul is one of 4 planetary civilizations known to reside on plane 73813. Currently, it is unaware of its distant neighbors, and it is likely to remain so as it has not yet achieved interstellar travel. Sul's 5 continents are largely arid and mountainous, however each contains small patches of fertile land. These lands were once in danger due to war and conflict, but are now fiercely protected as a result of mediation visits numbers 8 through 15. S8659541 contains 12 oceans, all of which are heavily salted and somewhat acidic. Nevertheless, these oceans contain a variety of sea life, and consequently, fishing constitutes a large portion of both the economy and food supply of Sul. International conflicts with regards to the ownership and right to fish sea life was resolved in mediation visits 16 to 22. The harsh conditions of the planet have led to an increase in the rate of technological advancement, causing Sul to teeter on the brink of an outlier classification. Scientific discoveries can happen much more quickly here than in most other worlds. Due to this, levels of chaos within the system are variable and may spike unexpectedly. However, overall, this has not been a common occurrence. Although there are 9 societies on Sul of notable influence, there are 3 that are of particular importance to the system. These 3 are called Gabraya, Ferdia, and Rosare. The remaining 6, Roma, Karas, Dom, Jonas, the Madlands, and Mess, are not usually of major consequence, though are often caught up in the quarrels of the main 3. The main 3 will be covered in a brief in the following paragraph. Please visit their respective codex entries for more in-depth information. Gabraya is the most economically powerful of the 3, largely due to its sizable number of colonies scattered across the globe. It is also the most frequently problematic. Ferdia is a military superpower as well as a paragon of the arts. It is prone to warring, and it is also commonly involved in the subject of mediation. The last society, Rosare, is diabolical, having a reputation of cruelty and bizarre acts of violence. It has used fear to rise to power and control its populace. Interestingly, it is the least problematic of the 3, and its involvement in issues can dramatically lower the levels of chaos. Despite Sul's occasionally high levels of chaos, it has not often required mediation, and is considered quite stable. Still, caution should be taken when visiting this world. How about fusion bombs? Notes. This entry concerns fusion weapons which are initiated by fission. For pure fusion weapons, see the entry on true fusion. Fusion bombs, also known as nukes, are highly destructive weapons fueled primarily by nuclear fusion. Their power ranges anywhere from obliterating cities to entire countries, only in a few moments. Due to this, their possession is often quite efficient in quickly silencing opposition. Stability is often reached, however, when opposing or multiple societies possess the weapons. Mutually assured destruction tends to prevent societies from risking angering one another. Fusion bombs are also notable for their fallout, which often takes several decades to dissipate. To expound, fallout is the result of a nuclear weapons detonation, fission, or fusion on an area. Since the resulting explosion is incredibly radioactive, its effects will linger long after the initial shock has passed, as the radiation will stick to the surrounding life and environment. Radiation sicknesses, symptoms, fevers, disorientation, fatigue, headaches, hair loss, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, internal bleeding, increased risk of cancer and mutations in survivors, children, are all results of a nuclear weapons fallout. Although most systems refer to these weapons as products of fusion, it is not entirely true. While fusion is certainly a part of the process, the reaction must first be started by using nuclear fission, an atomic nucleus, often that of uranium, splitting. The reason it is usually begun with fission is due to the incredible energy and pressure required for nuclear fusion. For most societies, fission is the only method available for producing the required energies. If a proper level of energy is reached, the nuclear fuel, often hydrogen, will begin to fuse with itself to produce a new element, often helium. This reaction is significantly more destructive than that of fusion, to the point that fission bombs are usually quickly declared obsolete once fusion is explored. The fission stage of these weapons is the primary contributor to the radioactive byproducts left by the detonation. Certainly, this is amazing. I smile pleasantly in admiration of technology. Most unfortunately, my smile is very, very temporary. As it turns out, the fusion bomb is incredibly horrible. It is a weapon that will detonate and destroy everything in a very large radius with a disturbing rapidity. In its wake is a kind of miasma so powerful that it sticks to a place for several decades before dissipating. It causes sickness to those who did not die, and greatly increases the chance of cancer and mutations in the children of survivors. Once again, I am affronted by the sense of unreality that has persisted since my induction into the Mediatorum, however you pronounce that. This is not even something you would read about in storybooks. This is not a thing one can imagine. Why would you kill somebody else? Why would you kill hundreds, thousands, millions? And what's more, with such effects, what does that accomplish? They said I would not understand it for a long time, that it would be covered later on in my schooling, and that until then I would not be allowed to mediate wars. I need to understand this now, though. It may go down in a matter of hours. What will happen if I remain in this foolish ignorance of mine? My heart thumps and my stomach twists. I put my hand over my mouth and squeeze my eyes shut. I am not the type to freak out, but I am freaking out a lot today.